Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a special edition of the Lebanon Redevelopment Commission. Though this is special, we will begin as we do every meeting with a Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and we will let the record reflect we have 100% attendance tonight. So first item up on the agenda is we're going to approve a few meeting minutes here. We have one that's just a little bit of cleanup for the records. We held a meeting on March 8th of 2023, and by we, I mean Mr. Parks. You probably didn't participate actively in that one. Those were redistributed out in November, but we don't have an official record of vote on those. So I'm just looking for a record to approve those minutes as presented to us. We'll do that one separate from the other two if that's possible. So that was March 8th of 2023 is the date.
March 8th of 23. I'll make a motion we approve the minutes of March 8th, 2023.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Any abstains?
Because I wasn't here.
Mr. Parks has abstained. Next up, we have two minutes. One in regards to February 12th meeting of the Redevelopment Commission. That was a standard meeting. And then a March 14th special meeting. Both of those have been distributed. So we can do that as a single motion. So I would entertain that now.
You want to do them individually or together?
Together is fine.
I'll make that motion to adopt the February
12th.
12th and
14th.
March 14th minutes.
Perfect. We've got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Those carry. Thank you very much. That cleans up a little bit of administrative duties for us. So we'll go into new business as there's not any old business on the agenda. And this is Resolution 2024-02, which is approving a lease between the Lebanon Public Building Corporation and the Lebanon Redevelopment Commission. Mr. Ben Bontrager.
Good evening, Commission members. I will give you a quick overview on the project and where we stand, and then Emma is here from Baker Tilly to walk through the numbers with you, and Rob can walk through the technical details associated with the resolution itself. So this is related to the Hickory Junction Fieldhouse project. Those of you who have been on the Redevelopment Commission for a while may remember a couple of years ago that we issued bonds associated with the construction of the facility, and then a second series associated with the construction of the phase one public infrastructure for the project. There was always an anticipation that there was going to be a second phase in future development that is part of that project. And luckily for us, over the last 2.5, 3 years since we issued those bonds, construction costs have gone up significantly. And then we also had some additional costs associated with improvements to State Road 39 required by NDOT. So phase two infrastructure total is about $12 million. Of that, about half of that CARD will be financing on their own. And then the other half, about $6 million, they have requested that there an additional issuance of bonds to the tune of about $6 million as well. So that is what is before you here tonight is a bond structure, a lease rental bond structure for about approximately $6 million in order to fund a portion of the phase two infrastructure and get that infrastructure completed so they can start signing up those folks that are interested in hotels and restaurants, et cetera, associated with the Fieldhouse project. So with that, and rather than just saying, trust me, the numbers work, Emma is here to walk through those with you to talk about how that's going to be funded with existing TIF revenue.
Thank you, Ben.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Emma Adlam. I'm with Baker Tilly. I'm going to put some slides together just to summarize. There we go. So, like Ben said, this is really the second phase of the public infrastructure project. It will have the same security structure as the 2022 bond issue for the public infrastructure. So it'll be payable formally from a special benefits tax, and that is an ad valorem property tax that would be levied by the Redevelopment Commission. However, instead of actually levying that tax, you'd use available revenues of the commission, and I'm going to go through this whole list of available revenues. So you're not actually intending to levy that tax. It really enhances the marketability of that bond issue. Bond purchasers view that property tax as more secure. You'll get better rating, lower interest rates of having that property tax as that backup. So for the available revenues, there's kind of a layer of revenues that will go towards the repayment of not only this bond, but the two 2022 bonds issued in connection with this overall project. First is the TIF generated from the field house, and the developer has a minimum taxpayer payment in place of $300,000. Second, the developer has agreed to pay annual operating revenues of $600,000 per year once the field house is open, which it is now. Then TIF from the surrounding development. Like Ben, Ben mentioned, this infrastructure is needed to really finish out the infrastructure to support the surrounding development. So there's hotels, restaurants, I think there's apartments in there. So there's a lot of development going around this project that is within the TIF area. So it will be captured as well, and that TIF will go towards paying the debt service. Fourth, food and beverage revenues generated from the restaurants that will be built in this in this allocation area. Then innkeepers tax revenues generated from the hotels that will be generated or created in this area. And then there are industrial buildings being built that are a part of this TIF area, really adjacent to the field house. And those industrial developments will be captured as well to go towards the repayment. And then finally, if additional revenues are needed after all of those, then available revenues of the commission. So think of the RDC's excess TIF from your other TIF areas. So what does that look like? There are a lot of colors on this chart, but this is really those revenues, kind of those six, I think, revenues layered together. Starting from the bottom, Fieldhouse TIF is that blue, about $300,000 per year. The surrounding development, once it is fully built out and assessed, about $1.55 million per year. The maroon color is the industrial buildings, about $610,000 per year. Layered on top of that, the yellow is a $600,000 of operating revenues from the company. The blue on top of the yellow is the estimated food and beverage of about $138,000 per year. And then finally, on top is the innkeeper's tax revenues estimated at $344,000 per year. So altogether, once with the build out, about $3.5 million of revenues. Now, looking at those revenues, instead of making this chart look even worse, we combine them all together in that shaded blue is in the background of the area. And the columns are the 2022 obligations and the 2024 obligations. You can see the columns are a little taller than that blue background. So we are expecting that you will need to use some of that available TIF from the Redevelopment Commission's other TIF areas. The highest point is really in the beginning years. 2026 is the highest amount of revenues we think you would need from your other TIF areas, about $1.15 million, and then it levels out to about $700,000 per year. So what does that contribution of available revenues look like for your actual available revenues? So the shaded area in the back are all of your existing TIF areas after your pledged obligations. So you have several bonds payable from the Industrial Park TIF. You have bonds payable from the Building 11, the Scott Barrett TIF area, the GDI TIF area. This is your revenue stream after all of those obligations are paid. And you have two obligations currently outstanding, a loan for the Forza project and the Shell Building BOT. And then that black part of the column are those estimated revenues that would be needed towards this project. Finally, worst case scenario. So this is if all of this all of this estimated development surrounding the field house project, if that doesn't get built, can you still make all these debt payments? And yes, there is enough coverage. If you use your available TIF, in addition to developments that are already under construction, so like the Bel Canto apartments, the field house is of course completed already, so we're including those in this estimate. But there is sufficient revenues currently in the ground or about to be assessed to cover your current obligations plus these new obligations as well. So I showed a lot of charts and graphs. I'm happy to revisit any particular graph that I showed or any questions that you have about this bond issue.
Thank you very much, Emma. Commission, any questions? No questions from the commission?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So with that, I think, Rob, we will first read it in. Is that correct? Correct. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Commission. So we have two resolutions, the first of which is Resolution 2024-02 that authorizes the execution of a lease between the Lebanon Public Building Corporation as the lessor and this commission as lessee. This is a similar process to what we did in 2022. This commission, again, is the governing body of the Department of Redevelopment for the city. And in order to foster economic development, the city, the commission, the Lebanon Public Building Corporation, and CARD Associates, which is the developer, previously provided for the acquisition and construction of the Fieldhouse project, as well as the public infrastructure project Phase 1 to be constructed by the developer. As a result of certain cost overruns to the public infrastructure project, the developer has requested that the city issue a further series of lease rental revenue bonds for the purposes of providing additional financing for the costs incurred in connection with the public infrastructure project. The commission is considered a lease between the corporation as lessor and the commission as lessee. And the commission intends to pay the fixed annual rentals to the corporation pursuant to the terms of the lease at a rate not to exceed $820,000 per year, payable in semi-annual installments. The lease rentals are payable by the commission from a special benefits tax levied and collected on all taxable property in the district, except that this commission reasonably expects to pay such lease rentals from any other revenues legally available to this commission. The commission has published notice of a public hearing that we'll have in just a moment. And the commission now desires to approve the execution of the lease and authorize its publication under Indiana law. Therefore, this commission finds and determines the terms of the lease with the fixed annual rental payments that will not exceed $820,000 per year are reasonable, and that the use of the lease premises throughout the terms will serve the public purposes of the city. The president and secretary of this commission are authorized and directed on behalf of the corporation to enter into any such documents that will carry out the intent of this resolution. The commission approves the publication and notice of execution of the lease, and this resolution shall be in a full force and effect after its adoption.
Good deal. Thank you very much, Rob. So that is Resolution 2024-02 read officially in. Commission, any questions on the resolution before we open the public hearing? So with that, we will officially open the public hearing. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please step to the microphone. Dramatic pauses. Seeing no one approaching the microphone, we will officially close the public hearing. And with that, any follow-up, ending questions, comments, concerns for Ben, Baker Tilly, Rob? So I would entertain a motion in regards to Resolution 2024-02, which is approving the lease between Lebanon Public Building Corporation and the Lebanon Redevelopment Corporation Commission.
I'll make a motion we approve resolution number 2024-02.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second as well. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion does carry. Thank you, Commission. Next up is Resolution 2024-03, and this is the pledge resolution for the Hickory Junction Phase 2. So, Rob, we're going to read that guy in, huh?
Yes, Mr. President. So Resolution 2023-03 is, again, a resolution, just for the record, I want 2024-03 is a resolution for this commission regarding the pledging of a special benefits tax. Again, pursuant to Indiana Code, this commission is the governing body of the Department of Redevelopment for the city. And it previously adopted certain resolutions that are titled the Lebanon Consolidated Economic Development Area. In order to foster economic development, the city, the commission, and again, the Lebanon Public Building Corporation and CARD Associates, the developer, previously provided for the acquisition and construction of the Field House project as well as the public infrastructure project. In conjunction with that, the developer and the city issued economic development lease rental bonds 2022B, which were the public infrastructure project. Again, as a result of certain cost overruns to the public infrastructure project, the developers requested the city to issue a further series of lease rental revenue bonds for the purposes of financing the additional cost to the project. The 2024 Public Infrastructure Phase 2 bonds will be issued in the principal amount not to exceed $7,170,000. The bonds will be payable from note payments made by the building corporation under a loan agreement between the city and the building corporation, and the lease payments made by the commission as lessee under a certain lease agreement between the building corporation that'll enable the building corporation to make the note payments to pay the debt service. The commission will pay the lease rentals due under the lease, again, from a special benefits tax. However, the commission reasonably expects to pay such lease rentals, again, from other avenues legally available to this commission. Therefore, be it resolved, this commission finds and covenants to levy the special benefits tax in order to pay the lease rentals due under the lease. If further, the lease rental payments due under the lease shall be paid from, again, the special benefits tax. The commission hereby finds and determines that it reasonably expects to pay the lease rentals due under the lease from funds other than the special benefits tax, again, including, but not limited to, TIF revenues derived from the field house allocation area. And again, in the event that the TIF revenues and other revenues legally available to the commission are insufficient, a special benefits tax will be levied to pay the lease rentals due. Again, the president, the vice president, and secretary of this commission are authorized to take such further actions as may be required in order to effectuate the intent of this resolution.
Perfect. Thank you, Rob. So that is 2024-03, which is the pledge resolution. Any questions from the commission? So on that, I would entertain a motion.
Move we accept the resolution 2024-03 pledge resolution as read.
We've got a motion to accept. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. That motion does carry. And then one quick note here, if we could, Commission. Our folks from Baker Tilly, Emma and her team are here. They presented us earlier with the TIF annual report, which basically is an annual report that we receive each year under the statute. If she could just give a quick presentation. I've been told it is a very quick presentation, 5 slides or less.
I promise to be I promise to be very quick. So you've seen this report in the past. It's an annual requirement from state statute. It's a report on last year's activities. The reason why we're going through some slides, and it's a little different this year, is there's a new requirement that this information be presented at a public meeting at the council. So I'll be giving the same presentation in about an hour or two. So we wanted to make sure you saw this report. This is high level. There's a lot of details in the numbers that you received. But really quickly to show of what is contained, the report requires you include the redevelopment commission members in 2023. And also note that the redevelopment commission does not have any employees. Then we have to list all of your TIF allocation areas. So this slide just shows the industrial park area with your many expansions. You can see on the right-hand side the expiration date, because depending on when each expansion area was created, there are different laws in place at the time govern when that portion of the TIF area expires. And then in addition to the industrial park, you have 12 other TIF areas. Most of these TIF areas are single site, single developer TIF areas that you've had in place for a while. Some of them have expiration dates because you have formally pledged TIF to outstanding obligations. Some of them do not have expiration dates because you have not formally pledged TIF to that TIF area to a bond issue. This report also needs to include the total revenues and expenditures of each of your allocation areas. It's going to look a little bit odd if you were to compare this to your annual financial report. I'm going to use the Fieldhouse area as an example because we have to include not only your allocation funds, the RDC funds where you deposit your TIF revenues, we also include trustee-held accounts. So the Fieldhouse, you can see expenditures of almost $35 million, but those are the construction proceeds being spent down for the Fieldhouse and the industrial projects. Similarly, for New Cold, there were new bonds issued and expenditures made from the New Cold trustee account. So that's why it probably looks a little bit different if you were to pull up just the annual financial report on Gateway. This next page, you need to combine all of the expenditures from all of your TIF areas and report them in the State Board of Accounts code classifications. So, there's construction expenses for infrastructure and buildings, not really surprising for the Fieldhouse and New Cold projects. You also show the payment of principal and interest on bond issues. You do have some of your facade grants. So there's 3 lines at the bottom of the grants that were paid out of the industrial park TIF, and you did not pay TIF to other taxing units. Next section, and I'm not going to go through this in detail, but you have many bonds outstanding. The first, I think, 8 or so are the industrial park. Building 11, you probably think of that as the Scott Barrett TIF area. State Road 32, you might think of that as the GDI TIF area. And then you have a couple more that wouldn't fit on that prior slide. Your Fieldhouse bonds, New Cold, Patterson Street. New Cold and Patterson Street are the 2 new bonds that you issued last year. You do have a residential housing TIF area that has not had any homes constructed yet. So that section, we have to report it, but it's 0. And that we just noted that your school work coordinator is covered from non-TIF revenues that are received by the Redevelopment Commission. So Corey, I hope I kept that quick for you.
Loved it. It was fantastic. Emma, thank you so very much. So Commission, that is part of some new stuff that passed in the past year for us as the Redevelopment Commission. To my knowledge, I do not believe we need to take action on that. They simply have to prove that we are in receipt of that as an RDC.
In your minutes, just acknowledge you received the report.
Acknowledged and received.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Seeing no other new business before the board, Rob, we're in good shape, right? Awesome. So I would actually entertain someone's favorite motion, which is to adjourn.
Do we have to approve claims?
Not at the special meeting, not at this time. No.
Make a motion we adjourn then.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you very much.